And we're just around the corner from Leinster House right now, and I can tell you there's a sizable amount of protesters already outside and a big Garda presence. And Michael Noonan, on his way in this morning, said this was going to be a tough budget but a fair budget. And joining me now to discuss some of the changes is finance expert Karl Deeter. Good afternoon to you, Karl.
Afternoon.
It looks like pensioners who haven't really been hit since Brian Lenihan's budget in 2008 may be faring the worst today.
It looks that way. In fact, I think once they get into the protest group, the size of the crowds up there will get pretty big pretty fast. Pensioners typically have been seen as being older and vulnerable due to their age. I think what's happening though is that they're starting to realise there are a lot of people who are older who are well off, and so they're going to test the waters with them and see what kind of pain they can take. It's going to come in a few different forms. Their telephone allowance is going to be gone. They're going to reduce some of the TV licence contributions. And then for people who have medical cards, about 1 in 10 are going to lose it, and instead they'll get a GP card. Now that's something that's means tested, that at this point now, if you have less than 500 a week, you'll get it. If you have more than 500 a week, you won't, but you will still have a GP card. So they're not being locked out of the medical system.
Okay.
They're just losing that one particular aspect of their card, which would cover prescription.
And that's really going to be the big sticking point, I imagine.
For the people it affects, I think it will be. The thing is, you've got to bear in mind, they have a certain income, which means that they don't qualify. So when you're stuck with a position of having to hit people who have less and less, at some point you've got to make a call on it. And I think if someone has more than €500 a week, should they be getting everything for free? I don't know that that's the case. There's people working, struggling with families and mortgages who don't make 500 a week. What
about this bereavement grant? That's been scrapped as well.
Yeah, the death of the death grant is it's a shame, because really it's like a tax on dying. Dying is an expensive thing for families to, carry out a service, flowers, run a funeral, coffins.
How much was it worth? It's about €860, is it?
About 850, yeah, is a one-off payment.
And now everybody was entitled to that, but that's just going to be gone from next year.
Yeah, it's going to be gone. Now, I think that what will happen, obviously, is that funeral homes will probably have to find a way to lower costs, but on the end of those funeral homes, there's people working, and so anytime you see these cuts, there's always going to be a knock-on domino effect. I think the big thing this year is that they're really hitting at the two ends of the spectrum. They're going after young people and they're going after old people. On the young people side, you've got reductions in unemployment allowance.
That's for the over 26s.
Well, over 26.
The under 26, excuse me.
Over 26, you get the full amount. At age 25, you get kind of 2/3. But below that, you get €100, which I think really is one of the biggest stimulants for people emigrating that you could look for. Because if you're not in full-time education, that's not something that you can realistically live on. You can't be away from home. It's really, I think, setting the tone for more emigration, and reducing unemployment through emigration. It works. I don't know that it's necessarily the most desirable way of fixing it, but I think that's really the message that's being sent out.
What about maternity benefit? Because I know that's going to be a big interest, particularly to midday viewers.
Yeah, the thing is that for parents, you've got, with young children in particular, you've got these weird kind of trade-offs where they're saying that there's going to be free GP care for the under 5s.
Which is great,
All my kids are under 5, I think it's wonderful.
Yeah.
But at the other hand, a maternity benefit is going to come down by €32 a week.
So it's currently €262, it's moving to €230.
Well, that's what
possibly.
We're being told, yeah. Now, the interesting thing is that works out about €830 a year. How many GP visits could you get for that? Because what that means is that the newborn who comes into a family, they'll have less income, but that the older children in that same family will now get free GP care. So it's a weird set of trade-offs. And the other thing is as well, there's plenty of parents who have young kids and lots of money. They don't have to have free GP care. That should be something, again, that is given to the more vulnerable. We should be more specific rather than look for universal grants.
What about child benefit on the 4th child? I heard there could be a possible reduction.
Labour promised protecting child benefit. That was their big credo. They've already broken that promise once. If they break it again, would you be surprised? Probably not. I do think they're getting into a space, though, where when you kind of punish the child, really what you're doing is you're affecting the overall household. And if you have to look at who you consider vulnerable, the household that is poorest will be most affected by a cut like that. So really what we need to do at some point is get into the idea of adding child benefit to taxable income and taxing it, but they say we can't do that, and so they use these crude measures which actually hurt the most vulnerable.
Very quickly, the old reliables, cigarettes and alcohol, do you have any indication, 10-cent rise?
You don't know, but they're almost always part of it, because they have a thing called price elasticity. You can raise the price to any amount and people will still buy it. So fuel, cigarettes, they're always the same. And for that reason, they're a good kind of tax grab, as is dirt tax, which is set to go up. they're going to make your savings worth less, even though deposit rates are coming down. So these are all things that are just easy to get, and so there's still a bit of low-hanging fruit out there.
Okay, well, we'll find out more in just a couple of hours, and of course full details will be on the TV3 News at 5:30, but for the moment it's back to you in Studio Ling.
Thanks for that, Sybil. Now, Sinead, what do you make of all these doom and gloom